Tom wrote, "Patriotism has become for many a corny thing. For me, it is more important now than at any time in my life. How wonderful it is to be an American, to come home." Friends, please join me in honoring retired Air Force Colonel Tom Kirk. Each one of these men here today faced terrible sufferings, overwhelming setbacks, and impossible odds. And they endured, and their stories are America's story. We will always come through. We will never give up, and we shall endure, because we live by that moral strength that we call grace. Because though we've often skirted a precipice, a providential hand has always guided us to a better future. And I know that many of us today, we are worried about what we face. Sometimes our challenges, they just seem insurmountable. But here together at the crossroads of our history, may this day be the change point. Look around you, you're not alone. You are Americans. You have the same still spine and the moral courage of Washington and Lincoln and Martin Luther King. It is in you, it will sustain you as it sustained them. So with pride in the red, white, and blue, with gratitude to our men and women in uniform, let's stand together, let's stand with honor, let's restore America. God bless you and God bless America.
It is no longer enough in our country just to look at these brave heroes. They cannot be the only ones that do the tough things. We as individuals, if we want our country to survive, we must begin now to look at our own selves. We must be individuals of faith, individuals of hope, and individuals of charity. When I first put this together, in my head, I thought it was supposed to be political, and I had to announce it for some reason. I went down to Florida. I just felt I had to look people in the eye and tell them what we were doing. 25,000 people showed up, and I looked them in the eye, and I immediately broke out into a cold sweat. And when I got off, we were surrounded by a crowd. It was in the round. And people were screaming and yelling, and hands were coming from everywhere, and I grabbed my assistant by the lapels and I pulled him in close, and I screamed in his ear. I said, "I don't know how, but we're wrong." He pushed me back and said, "What?" I knew we were supposed to come here. So I went back to the drawing board, and over the holidays, I painted the faith, hope, and charity. Those three icons. I brought them back to the television studio, and I said, "This is our direction next year." And they looked at me and said, "What?" And I said, "I can't explain it either. I don't understand it, but this is where we're going." It was about 4 months ago that we were still kind of lost, and we didn't know what we were going to do when we got here. And I was down on my knees, and we were in the office, and I said, "Lord, I think I'm one of your dumber children. Speak slowly." And the answer was, "You have all the pieces. Just put them together." The pieces are faith, hope, and charity, and looking for those things inside each of us. So we have plenty of medals for our heroes.
Glenn, you're a hero.
They do things that none of us want to do. But when I found the original story of the Purple Heart, the badge of merit, our troops take bullets in our name. They do things for us in our name, and we give them the Purple Heart. But the original intent on the Purple Heart from George Washington, it was called the Badge of Merit. It was the first merit badge, and it was given to any soldier that had done something of merit, had done something of honor, because George Washington knew to be able to defeat the most powerful navy and army on earth, he had to have farmers and shopkeepers of honor and merit. There were 3 given out that we know of. They were lost until 1933 when they were rediscovered. And FDR took those and designed the medal around it to be for being wounded in action. I would like to humbly ask that maybe as civilians we go back to that original intent, and for civilians we begin to look for merit in one another. We begin to look for honor. People who have done the tough things and stood against the tide because it was right. Today, we begin to award the new badge of merit, restoring honor. Today, we will award 3 medals to civilians who have done the right thing throughout their life and touch the lives of other people, so our children can see regular people making tough decisions and living their life the right way. To restore America, we must not only restore honor, but in doing so, we'll restore heroes. Our children need people to look up to. Well, those people are not giants like that. They are giants everywhere. They are us as individuals. So today, we will begin. Faith, hope, and charity. Our first medal for faith.
Faith. It's a knowing and believing in something when all the circumstances surrounding you would indicate otherwise. Faith is the cornerstone of America's foundation. You might say it's in our DNA. 1775, in the greatest act of faith in our nation's history, an upstart group of British colonies without a real army sought their freedom by declaring war on the greatest military power in the world. Where there seemingly was no hope, there was faith. Nearly 200 years later, a young minister had the faith to dream of a better day. He dreamt of freedom, equality, a realization that all men are created equal. Dr. Martin Luther King's giant-like faith gave him assurance that all the pain, all the sacrifice would lead to an outcome that men before him could only dream about. In 2001, Our country's faith was challenged again, our security shattered. As we watched the Twin Towers fall, Americans looked inside themselves and then to their God, to find the strength to rise above the evil, to rise above the hatred. The faith that we had in ourselves, in each other, and our God united us. That American faith reassured us, no matter what happened yesterday or what happens today, tomorrow is always a new day. From the very beginning of this great country, our faith has driven us to become the greatest people the world has ever known. But now it seems, as darkness begins to grow again, faith is in short supply. To restore America, we must restore ourselves. We must rediscover the values and principles that the founders established. We must restore the faith that once guided us. Can we still reach for answers not readily apparent? Can we still find solutions not yet revealed? Can we, you and me, find that faith?